Alright everybody, welcome back to the channel. My name's Nicerius and let's get this video started. So I do want to mention really quickly that I'm testing some audio settings, doing some background audio ducking for my microphone, so that way hopefully the background footage can have decent volume while I'm not talking, while also not making it hard to understand me. So let's go and get into it. First, just like I guess a too long didn't watch. I absolutely love this game. It's fantastic. It's currently in early access. It's $3 on Steam, and I would highly recommend checking it out if you're a fan of the sort of arena survival roguelike genres. Absolutely fantastic game. For $3, I almost feel bad. Honestly. So I do first want to say I have currently around 20 or so hours total, including, so on full release I have just over 10 hours. Or I mean early access release I have just over 10 hours played, and across the betas I have like 12ish hours or so or something like that. I'd have to double check, but I have a little over 20 hours total played so far. And as you might expect, the rounds of this game last for up to 20 minutes total, so I have played quite a bit at this point. And so far I'm not really seeing any signs of getting bored of it at all. Honestly, I'm still enjoying every single run. I'm still absolutely having a blast in the game, especially with the darkness levels they added in the early access release. The added difficulty is really nice. There was one concern I was actually having with the demo, was that there are some builds that are just so incredibly strong that it just kind of steamrolled the game. And although there honestly are kind of still builds that do that in the early access release currently, but in general, with the darkness levels, the difficulty, you can ramp up the difficulty quite a bit, and it's quite enjoyable. It's quite enjoyable. Now, obviously, I will bring up Vampire Survivors in this video, because if you've seen the gameplay, you might be concerned that this is like, just some dead trying to copy paste Vampire Survivors to make a quick buck. And while I will say I don't particularly doubt that the developer probably is trying to at least some extent profit off the success of Vampire Survivors, for one, don't think that's an inherently bad thing. And I will say this is definitely not just another Vampire Survivors clone. Definitely not, because there's already been quite a few come out, right? There's been quite a few Vampire Survivors clones come out, but this is not one of them. This is definitely its own proper game, and it's a ton of fun. It is a more traditional roguelike in terms of gameplay and upgrades. As you can see, it's not the sort of passive playstyle you get in Vampire Survivors. You're aiming where you shoot. It follows again a much more traditional roguelike upgrade system compared to Vampire Survivors. And personally, I'm a big fan of that. Of the way this game handles it, over the way Vampire Survivors handles it. But yeah, this is definitely not a Vampire Survivors clone. If you're worried about that, your worries are unfounded, thankfully. Now, I've mentioned I've already played over 20 hours of game. As you can, and again, the rounds of this game are up to 20 minutes. There is a 10-minute mode, which I don't really play very much, but there is a 10-minute mode. And replayability is great. There's a lot of different perks. There's perk combos. There's a lot of things you can experiment with and build around. There's currently, I think, 7 characters and 7 guns. I'd have to double check. But yeah, there are currently 7 characters I know, and I think 7 guns as well. And they're all pretty unique. They all have like their own sort of specialty. For example, well, the shotgun is a shotgun. The crossbow is, sort of high damage, sit still and take a shot. The flamethrower I honestly haven't messed with since the beta. Honestly, in the beta I felt it was pretty bad. I'd have to test it, see how it's like in early access. I haven't gotten around to messing with it yet. I will say the revolver has been severely buffed since the beta. I thought this revolver was quite bad in the beta, but Here's a run of me in the background of, you know, me playing Darkness 4 with Shanna with the revolver, and I do clear this pretty easily. Now, the SMGs are kind of busted, to be honest. They're incredibly strong. So the unique effect of the SMGs is they kind of can't, like, you have two of them, right? And they essentially count as separate weapons. So what this ends up meaning is like things like the double shot upgrade ends up applying twice to your weapon, and it's pretty crazy. You can get some really crazy strong builds on SMGs. They're probably the strongest weapons in the game at the moment. Especially just like elemental SMGs are just incredibly strong at the moment. You can just curb stomp the game, especially playing Spark. Elemental SMGs on Spark are just so busted. But I'm digressing. Now, so yeah, definitely tons of replayability, tons of fun builds you can make. You know, these weapons all have sort of unique playstyles and effects that you kind of want to build around, and the characters have some pretty fun things. Something new to the early access version of the game was character unique perks. Like, for example, Shanna gets a unique perk that gives her more XP gained. She has an incredibly high potential perk where the next upgrade she gets tripled in effect. Combine that with Shanna's passive to re-roll your perk choices every single level. You can get some very powerful triple upgrades out of this. And one thing I've done on several runs at this point is actually hold off on Electromage, which is a perk that makes it so you do a lightning strike every 2 shots. And I try to hold off on picking that up until I get the perk that makes it so the next upgrade you get is tripled. And so what happens is every 2 shots, instead of doing 1 lightning strike, I do 3 lightning strikes, right? And this ends up being like so busted. And so, you know, lots of characters have some really fun, high potential, unique passives that they can get, which only come from the boss chests, by the way, or the elite enemy chests. They only come from the chests. So it's kind of a reward for killing the elite, right? They've added a bunch of new synergy perks where if you have certain upgrades, you unlock like a synergy upgrade. Like there's something I use in the run in the background footage you're seeing right now is, I can't remember what it's called, but essentially it makes it so like your bullets always have, and they always get like a flat 10 added damage to them. So like, for example, if you notice in the background footage right now, every time I kill an enemy, they like explode into bullets. And like right now those bullets only do like 4 damage, right? But once I get that passive perk, they do the 4 damage, and then they do an extra added 10 damage on top of that, right? So stuff like that, just incredibly strong passive perks with the right skill combination, with the right upgrade combinations, right? So I've been having a lot of fun exploring that, trying to find what crazy combos you can get. And I will say, this is one thing I really think this game really outshines Vampire Survivors really heavily, is like synergy between different things, right? Your synergy between your gear or your upgrades. This game has some very incredibly fun, incredibly powerful synergies. Actually, I was actually checking what it was. It's called Death Rounds, and you need Reaper rounds and Light rounds to get it. I was actually checking that because I was trying to remember what I needed for it. So yeah, this game has a lot of replayability, a lot of fun stuff you can do, and I've been really enjoying it. I'm not getting bored of the game at all. It helps that the game has a pretty good soundtrack. I wouldn't say it's like anything like, you know, amazing, but it's definitely not bad. It does get a little old. I would like, you know, for there to be some alternate soundtracks. That would be nice. But honestly, I don't really find myself going like, oh, this song or anything like that, right? It's fine. It's fine. It's not bad at all. Now, the pixel art for this game is gorgeous. I love the style of this game. I love the way it looks. You know, some people might just think it's being lazy with all the dark tones, but I think it's fantastic. I love the style. I love it a lot. I love the sort of Cthulhu, darkness, Lovecraftian vibes. I just love it. No complaints about the graphical style at all on my part. Honestly, I don't really have many complaints about this game in general, if I'm being honest. It's just like a solid game. It's got difficulty, so there's no like easy mode or anything, right? There's darkness 0, and then you can ramp it up as much as you want with the different darkness levels. I think I'm currently on like darkness 5 or 6. So you could really ramp up the difficulty. So like that's not a complaint I can have. There isn't really much nitpick about this game, to be honest. I will say that you can get builds that are crazy enough that can start causing the game to lag a bit. So I guess you can nitpick that, but this I wouldn't really criticize the game much for that, right? Yeah, it's just a solid game. 9 out of 10 in my opinion. 9 out of 10 game. And I follow a more, so just for context, I consider an average game a 5 out of 10 because that's the center. So for me, I think this game's fantastic. There's very few complaints from me on my part. I will say that's probably swayed a little bit by the price tag. You know, the game is only $3. I'm probably swayed a little bit by that. But yeah, 9 out of 10 game in my opinion so far. We'll see as I continue playing it if my opinion changes. In the future, I'll probably do a more in-depth review of the game at some point. If I really feel like my opinions have changed very much. Honestly, if my opinions kind of remain as they currently stand, I probably won't bother doing an in-depth review because game's just solid. Game is just solid. I guess I would like to see some more enemy types introduced to the game. Maybe like some different kind of maps. I don't really know what plans the dev has for the game going forward, but honestly, if the game had been released in full release as it currently stands, and I'd paid $3 for it, I would have been ecstatic for what I got for what I paid for. I think that's gonna about do it for this review. In these early impression video. I'm gonna let the rest of the gameplay footage roll. I'm gonna take my face away. I'm not gonna make you look at me any longer. And I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I hope you guys enjoyed the rest of the gameplay footage. And I will catch you guys in the next video. Till then, take it easy, everybody.